Welcome back, everybody. This is Dren 608, and we're doing a Dren 608 plays, sort of in the honor of June 6th, 2025, which is the 81 years since the invasion of D-Day. I thought I would go over the BGA version of Unconditional Surrender's France 1944 implementation. It will show you how we do invasions in general, and I'm going to show you at least two ideas. It usually depends on what the German does with their armored unit in the first turn. So, the goal here for this scenario is where's my mouse? By the end of September, we have to capture all but like 4 cities. Basically, you have to take like every city in France, or most of the cities in France, and all in like the Low Countries here. So that's the victory conditions. So you got to be able to run around and do things. Okay. The Germans are going to be able to get back another garrison unit plus whatever you take out. You only have 3 surprise attack markers, and because we are starting in June, even if you were to rebuild them 1, 2, 3, 4, they wouldn't be back until October. So you only have 3 surprise attack markers, which is how you do invasions, and I like to try and do it with only 2 on the initial invasion, using the 3rd one to do the breakout of whatever German defense they managed to mount. I've never seen anything to do a strategic move with the British, so I don't. Okay. So now the Germans have 6 production points to move with. I've seen a lot of Germans do this. They'll either put their armor here, which prevents you from doing a landing here and here on either side of Le Havre, to try and cut off Cherbourg by landing here and putting down a mulberry, and then landing on this side and attacking back at Le Havre to try and have a 2-port front here. The alternative is to land here and at Cherbourg, so I have 2 ports this way. That's if you want to try and do a Normandy, Pas-de-Calais type invasion. The further north you invade, the more likely these units can get involved right away, and you really don't want that with the Western Allies. If the German armor goes here, then you're going to invade probably like at Le Havre, and then here and take Cherbourg. And then by taking Cherbourg, you are allowing you to have basically a 3-hex front if you do it right. So that's one option. So that's... Oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do undo. Sorry. The other one I've seen several Germans do, and I want to show you kind of why this might not be a good idea, is they put their armored unit here. And then they don't want to, and then they kind of move up the first para, like to Paris, to be their reaction force for next turn. Now, if they move their airplane forward, they'll only have 1 sortie, and you move it too much further forward, Allied planes can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Allied planes can reach right here where you see my mouse going, like through the line that has, not Metz, what is this? The Meuse, where the Meuse River, right here, right next to Aachen. They can go in 7 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So from all the way from here, just north east of Dusseldorf, all the way down to 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 3315. So there's a lot of space here, okay? So there's a lot of space that those airplanes can cover. So moving the German air forward at this point is probably not a good idea. So let's say the Germans do this, and they say, okay, I'm done. See where you're going to invade. They supply all because they don't have to worry about it. Now you do have a couple units down here, ostensibly to set up for the invasion of southern France. I like to see how it goes in the north before I waste a surprise attack marker there. One of the things you can do as the Allies, if the Germans try to do this, this is very aggressive, but it also could be very detrimental to them, and I will show you how. As the Allies, one of the things you can do is you take a paratroop marker, drop it on the armored unit, take a surprise attack marker, drop it in C Zone 10, and then you're going to do an invasion. There's the one that's got a force H. Now you can do it either with the British or you can do it with the first. It's up to you. I'm just going to use the British for right now. So we're going to activate 2nd Armored. Call it Naval Transport. It's actually going to be escorted by both of these units. Okay, so we're confirming the escort there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to invade the hex. Now, the Germans could try to intercept. They do have some submarines. It's probably not going to work because this guy here is in a fair weather zone, so he starts off at 4. He gets an extra one from the surprise attack marker. He's at 5. And he has an airplane, so you have to get through an airplane and force H. That's already a minimum of 2 things on yourself, so you'll be -1 going against a +1 or +2 or +1 convoy. Because it's +2 for British, -1, -2 for convoy, +1 for surprise attack marker. And -2 to -1 is a very long shot that you're going to stop them. So things escorted by carriers and airplanes tend to not be interceptable. So we're going to hold off and maybe intercept the second invasion. Okay? So we're going to say no thank you. And we have to click on this hex again because that's just the way the mission goes. And he could intercept again here, but he says no, we're going to do the second time around. So now you get to attack this hex. Okay? Now in the board game, you actually wouldn't be moving the fleets and stuff there, you'd just be moving the ground unit, but they do this for visual purposes so you can tell what you're doing exactly. Okay? So I can throw in an airplane and an ultra. Okay? Which I will do because he's at +2. And what I'm trying to do is I'm going to throw in the bomber because you can only use it one time. And you confirm the attack. And then you commit. And all I got was a DR. So I didn't get as good a split as I'd like. If you can roll a little higher here and get like a DD, then you've got something going. Now, in the Germans' case here, they're probably going to want to go probably back towards Paris. Because what they don't want to do, if they'd have retreated like down here to the south, you might think, oh, I need to come down here and block things. These guys can't go anywhere. But if you were to go down here, let's say you went to 3112, the Allies could land another one here, and then Le Havre would be isolated. By going here, I'm keeping myself from being isolated. So I've done that. And then by advance after combat, I mean I'm going into that hex. And I will place the mulberry marker. Okay. Now I could rebase the invasion fleet, but there's no point. So we'll just leave it there because I'm going to need it for supply. So the thing that got me ashore was the airborne unit. Now I can take the American fleet here. This is where it gets, this is where it gets somewhat dicey. You can take the American fleet. Oh, no. Have to drop another surprise attack marker in the C zone because it takes one surprise attack marker for each invasion. You go here, click, below, naval transport, amphibious invasion. I'm going to escort it with the fleet because the airplane can't go into this C zone. Confirm the escort. And what we're going to do is we're going to officially land here in case I roll a horrible split. Now, here is where you get the chance to intercept. And if you're going to intercept, you do it out here. Because once he gets in here, he gets +1. He gets an extra plus. But here he doesn't. So we're going to go ahead and risk the fleet out of Cherbourg. The German fleet. We're going to throw in submarines. Okay? Give me a chance. And we commit. And he got a DR2 on that. And so now I will not. I don't want to. I can choose to abort the invasion and it's not letting me. Oh, it forced me to invade. It didn't do that right. I did not want to do that. Okay. Can I still do it with these guys? I can't remember if this works. Okay. And then we go ahead and we attack here. And we'll throw in our airplane. Because we're at +5 to his 0. And this is where he throws in the tanks and hopes that he doesn't get a DR. You want a really good split in your favor. And you got it. So there you have it. You've kind of, sort of, and then this flight has to go back here. So you basically have contained the invasion by getting lucky out here and me not hitting the key right. Because I should not have aborted the evasion. I should have kept going and made him attack me again. So I messed that up. But now you have, that's kind of a way to get around it. Even if you manage to get, the Germans get lucky and abort you, like out here in C Zone 7, then you still get ashore. And the next turn, one of the things I usually do here is I would take like the American airplane that's not doing anything, and I would fly it in here. And then you have to do supply all. And then I think we can afford to supply everybody. And what we did is we rang up our convoy here. The Germans do their replacements. That was a mistake on my part. Oh, not enough production points. Okay. And then for the UK, they can do everybody. They want to do their fleets. The bomber command's not really important at this point. And of course, the Americans are free. They just do everything every time. Okay. And then they don't have any, they have a point to build here. So they'll build the 7th like probably in Metz, and have to go to North America. I wish they'd have the USA on here, even though it doesn't have, you know, any value here, because then you could just jump over here and build this guy here. And then that's the first turn. So a very unsuccessful attack by the British here. Now the Germans could try to counterattack this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Germans could try to counterattack here and take one of these things out. With the amount of air power you're facing, you're probably just going to, you know, kill yourself for no really good reason. They only have 2 turns. They've got July, August, and September. Okay, so they've got 3 turns to try and take every city in France. Your job as the Germans is to keep them from doing that. And they still have a surprise attack marker in their pocket, which means they can reinvade, and you're not very likely to actually get these guys out. I've seen a lot of Germans waste their time and energy trying to like blow up the guy with the mulberry, but there's another surprise attack marker, so they're just going to open up another port. Cherbourg was a lucky die roll that didn't get killed. If you take Cherbourg, then this guy can be isolated, but by him sitting here, you're preventing the isolation, and now you have problems. But you notice I didn't use 3 surprise attack markers on the initial invasion. There's a reason for that. Okay? You don't want to risk, if you blow all 3 surprise attack markers on the first turn, number 1, you can't do a second invasion if they somehow kick you off the continent. Number 2, you can't, you don't have this in your pocket to break out. Like if the Germans set up a good, you know, bring in the first pair over here and the infantry and bring the garrison back, pull this infantry up here, and have like 2 infantries, the elite infantry, and the armor all trying to hold you here, which they can do. Then you can use the surprise attack marker to break out and then take on and bring in more units and things like that. So it's something to keep an eye on, okay? And that's just the first turn. This was a not really successful invasion of Normandy, but in face of the armor, I have seen it where I've gotten a 6-1 split in the favor of the Allies, where that armored unit ends up being a 3, and the Allies are like a 10 or 11, and they get like a DD on it, which messes up the Germans. If they don't retreat the right way, you can possibly totally wreck their day. I think the highest you can get is 2, let's see, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, minus 2, plus 6 to plus 2. And if you get a 6, 12 to a 3, if you look on the combat table, I don't have the combat table here. They don't show us the combat table, do they? No, we can't show you the combat table here. But on 12, if you were to have a 12 to his 3, I believe that that would be a DE. So there is a chance no, it would be a DD. So the best you could get would be a DE against the Germans, armored unit. But you definitely can get ashore going into Normandy. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this game. I have to quit. I can't concede. Can't concede to myself. Okay. And then we're going to play the game again. I want to create a new table. No, I don't. Oh, bloody heck. It's not letting me do what I want. I have to go here. Collect. What did I just do? No, I want to click on this. I want to create a new table. Single player. France 1944, yes. You know, let's start the game just with myself. Okay. All right, so we're going to be back at the same place that we were before, and we're going to show you an alternative. Especially, let's say, if the Germans... No, we're not doing strategic. We're going to have the Germans do more of a... Oh, I don't know. They're going to go like here instead, let's say. They're going to try to keep you from being able to isolate Le Havre, okay? And then, of course, they're going to bring up, they only have a few points here. They're going to bring up these guys to Paris. Okay? So they have some mobile reserves and whatnot, and then they say they're done. Again, same reasoning of not moving the airplane forward, because you're just going to get stomped on. Now, this is an alternative. I guess I should make this a little bit bigger out. This is an alternative way to do invading France in this game, in this particular scenario. This is the one that I favor usually in main event ones as well, is you just go surprise attack marker. Okay. You drop it in C zone 7. And then you take the first, no, not the first. You go ahead and take the second. I'm going to do an amphibious invasion. You are going to escort with both. Ooh, I don't want to do that. Undo. I forgot to do something else. Sorry. Got to do something else. This is something you got to pay attention to. So this airplane here has to move here. And you'll see why in a moment. Now we go and do this. We select the unit, say naval transport. Now it's very important that you do all this in the right sequence, and this game is very unforgiving if you don't. So, and then we're going to do amphibious invasion. I'm going to escort in C zone 10 here with the airplane. Confirm the escort. And I'm going to invade at Brest. Now, again, I could try to go after him, but he's got 2 escorts there, so I'm not so inclined. Well, I suppose I could risk it. We'll do it here so you can see what would be, what's the, oh, come on, click there. So you do that. We're going to go after him first. Confirm. Commit. Did it work? Nope, we didn't get through. So he gets through. So then he's going to go ahead. Now you can, there's 2 schools of thought here. You can land on the coast. That way if you fail, you can drop the mulberry. Or you can go straight in and see how bad it is. I prefer to go straight in myself. I throw everything at it, +6 to 0. He's going to try to survive. No effect. Okay, so there's a split, and this is an example of what happens if you get totally wiped out. Okay? This is why going into it might not be the best way to do it. Okay? And that's an example of it being taking the chance and failing. Okay? So, the proper way to do it, we're going to go ahead and spend. Should we just back up and do it the right way? Path. Okay. I don't think it'll let me undo back to that. Nope, I can't. Okay. So that's an example of how you can repulse it by having them go straight into the port. The more proper way to do it is to land like here at 38. What is that? 3007 or 3207. And if you get a no effect, you can drop a mulberry there, which lets you move an airplane in, an American airplane, and then you can invade from this side and capture Brest with a surrounding type thing. Or you can land here and take Nantes. The idea of going into Brittany is to take Brest and Nantes. You want to take both. And then survive the German onslaught. And then break out of here either with a secondary invasion on the flank or just break out clean. All right, so there you have an example of the invasion being repelled. All right, and we're coming up on a half an hour, so I think I'm going to leave it there. I'll leave it to your imaginations on how this here, the way to, I should have probably done it, would have been to drop that there. You take an infantry, come on. You land one infantry here, attack with the bomber. See, I got another no effect, so I'm getting very bad die rolls. And then you should have, this would allow you to do, I place the mulberry there, and I'll leave the fleet there. And then, if I had done that initially, then I could have placed a second invasion marker here. And then I can take this armored unit. Oh, he doesn't consider, it has to be on here. Okay, I did that wrong. But you can try it this way. And you made him retreat, so he'll retreat behind the river. You take this, and then land the fleet there. And then you want to fly an airplane in here somewhere to protect your fleets. From the Germans. And that would be, you've used all three, but now you're on the continent. So I got rejected at Brest twice here, so this was not a very successful one. The most successful one is that you get a DD here and take Brest, and then you land here and take this, because then he can't isolate you. He might push you out of Nantes, he might not. But with a lot of air support, you should be able to hang on to it. And then you push up here, do some attacks in August. Probably along this line of 315 3219 and 3110? 3110, 3210. Okay, my glasses are a little dirty there. Right, 3210 and 3110. That's where the Germans will probably make a stand with like their armor and maybe might even bring up the first para right away to try and hold you in place. So you move up the armor here, you try and maybe do some attacks to get out. Maybe try to break south across the river instead, so you can bring in a new unit into Nantes and another unit into Brest, so you have 4 units here. And when you have 4 units in your aircraft, then you do your breakout. Okay? So, oh, that's what I messed up on my invasion. I didn't drop my partisans. When I was doing the invasion on the armored unit, I was trying to figure out how it was that I did a DE on the armored unit, and it was because you dropped the paratrooper and the partisans on the armor, and he would be a 0, and you would be a +6. So then you stand, you roll really well, he rolls poorly, you can end up getting a DE on it, and if you eliminate this armored unit, it's going to be much easier for you to expand out because you're only dealing with infantry, because armor takes a lot for the Germans to rebuild. And it wouldn't be back until August at half strength, and then September, because they would build it back at the end of July at half strength, and if it survived at that point, it could go up to full strength in sometime in September. But by then, you should have most of France conquered, and you're just trying to go around him to grab cities. But anyway, that's sort of the way to get on the continent. You get to see what happens if you get rejected. You actually have to use all 3. Okay, and then you saw a way that you could get into Normandy even with an armored unit defending the beaches. Okay, so it's kind of the same concept either way. You can't really go much further south. If you try to do the southern invasion, I've never seen it really work. I tried it one time on my own, and it's like, yeah, I could get, both units on board here and blew this infantry up, but trying to march up through the mountains and stuff without any credible threat along the northern coast, the Germans everybody just flooded the zone here on the mountains, and I didn't get broken out until like September. And I got up to, I think I ended up with Bordeaux, Dijon, and I was just outside of Paris, so I was not even close to being able to do it with the Allies. So one of the reasons why you want to try to hang on to one of the surprise attack markers is it does threaten to come in this way if you pull this guy out and race him north to try and defend up there. It does give you a free invasion to grab Marseille, move forward, bring in another unit, and then just try to run around grabbing cities. Usually the Germans will at least leave a garrison unit or something down that way. If you were defending this in the main event, you would have a real infantry in Marseille, a real infantry in Brest, and similar up here, this kind of stuff, and garrisons along here. I usually put a garrison in Bordeaux, not a real infantry. This infantry and this infantry would be swapped. It's like if he wants to go all the way around to Bordeaux and land there, it's a long way from Bordeaux to the German border with rivers and stuff in between. I have time to defend. The Allies really can't land much further south than the whole Brest Peninsula here because you have to get across. This is still a long way to go. Ideally, you'd love to land like right here and be able to hold it, but that's real close to all the German reinforcements. So landing in the Pas de Calais is really not a good idea. I've seen one person do it, and they were contained, and actually I think I kicked them off the continent. But that was in a main event thing where I had a surprise attack marker in my pocket. And they were not ready for the fact that the Germans with the surprise attack marker can actually kick you off the continent despite your air power. So it surprised them no end that I kicked both units that he landed off the continent, and he had to wait 4 turns until he could get his surprise attack markers back to mount a proper invasion, and then when he did that, it was too late. It was like late 44 when he came in, like September of 44, because I think he went in May or something like that. It was very late in 1944 when he landed, and it was like, this isn't going to work, is it? It's like, nope, you're running out of time. So anyway, so there's another example of how to land, even with a terrible die rolls here. I was able to get this guy in. They'll both stay in supply. He could be isolated and possibly eliminated. You know, the German armored could come up. This guy will come back because he's going to be out of supply anyway. So he'll come back here to try and lock him in. Come down here with the armored unit. 1, 2, 3. 2 shots at him. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 shot with the para. So he probably would fly his airplane up, take a couple shots with the armored unit, take 1 shot with the para unit. You maybe use his armored thing to try and kick me out of Nance. And if he does that, then he's way ahead of the game, because the best I can do is land at Brest, move up here, and then I get a second unit on the board, and I'm way behind the curve. So this is not an ideal situation. The way I should have done it is this guy here probably should have invaded down here at 3207. So that if he fails, he's still sitting here supporting him. And then if this one lands here and doesn't get in, it still supports. You have 2 units living off the mulberry until the following turn when they have to recapture the ports. So that was a bad move on my part. So anyway, there you go. There's some food for thought. Hopefully you guys will comment on my take on some of the invasions. I know there are some much better players out there that will definitely be able to give you better ideas of how to do all this. This is just some of the things that I found useful. Like I said, I forgot to use partisans. I should have moved an airplane in here so I could have done an airdrop on Nance and make sure that it worked. And partisans, I have those now to break out when the Germans inevitably try to crush me in. But sometimes it's better to use those things up on the invasion turn to make sure that you get the hex you want, kind of thing. And I could have used that on Brest and probably gotten the hex. But I didn't use what I had available. So that was my very bad way of playing this. So don't make that mistake, all right? Anyway, as you can see, the mechanics are place a surprise attack marker, tell it that it's in the CZO, select the unit, say naval transport, then you have to tell it it's amphibious, then you have to select your escorts, and then you point at the hex you want to go to, and if there's any interception capability by the enemy, they will get to place, they'll be able to try and stop you, okay? So you have to, in the board game when you're playing it, or you're playing it on Vassal, a lot of times you miss this absolute sequence, because like before I started any of that invasion, I had to drop my airdrop and play my partisans. And since I didn't do it, I couldn't do it later. So that was a mistake on my part by not following the sequence and putting things down when they needed to be put down. All right? All right, so this is just a little video on the 44 scenario, give you an idea of how things can go bad. You saw how badly they went. I failed to take Cherbourg in the first one, so I had 2 guys sitting here with no safe place to go. This was a full-blown invasion of the Brittany Peninsula, and I failed to take Brest against a German garrison because I didn't use all my assets, didn't use my airdrop, didn't use my partisans. I did manage to take Nantes, and I still didn't use everything I could have used because I could have dropped partisans on him. So even when you think you're doing well and you think you have overwhelming power, a dice roll split, 1-6 split, can cause you to fail, which is what happened here at Brest. Okay, and then there was a 6-1 split in the German favor on the whole invasion thing when he stopped me here. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Okay, all right, I think that's going to do it for now. That's just a little primer on the 1944 scenario. You guys can find me on BGA Board Game Arena at Dren608. You can find me on Board Game Geek as Dren608, and I will probably post this up on Board Game Geek as a video once I get it up on YouTube, and we'll see what you guys think. If you'd like to see me play out the entire scenario, Um, I can do that solo. I don't know if I could get somebody to sit down for a couple of hours to have us run through it live. I can talk to some of the uh, people like Mark Dey, or Lord Vasta, and see if they would like to do that. Maybe even as a live stream, with them talking over a Discord with me, and we're showing it on the board. I don't know. We'll have to see how we can do that. But let me know if you'd like to see more content like this of the little scenarios, the mechanics of the game, things like that. I am going to be doing probably another solo playthrough to try in the early part of the game, at least, to show you how the new diplomacy rules are interacting with the game and how it kind of changes your thought processes. So look for those to come in the future. All right. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe, hit the notify bell, be notified when I upload videos like this. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of the summer. I'm at about 340 right now, so I decided to try and set goals for myself to get subscribers, and then I'll try and work on the next goal that I can think of and stuff like that. So I appreciate all your input. I appreciate the people that have subscribed already. I do read the comments. I try to comment back, try to reply to comments. I might not get to them immediately, but I will get them with it. I try to get to them within a day or two of them being posted to my videos. Um, so I'm kind of new to the whole video creation thing, so bear with me while I try to make these things entertaining and informative for all of you. All right? All right. I'm Drone 608. Until we meet again, stay safe and bye bye.